I wanted to ask before we start, just do like show of hands, is, how many people have heard of Erlang before? They know the language, all right. How many people have heard of Elixir? Elixir, okay. How many people have heard of OTP? OTP, okay. Know what it stands for, know what the T stands for. We'll get into that in a minute. This talk is sort of my experiment in finding out about Erlang, Elixir. You're really kind of falling in love and seeing, can we build an open source VoIP stack in it? So yeah, here's the plan. We're going to learn a little bit about Erlang, Elixir, and the Beam. Just go over it for those who don't know, or maybe a refresher. We're going to explore why Elixir is really well suited to do modern VoIP systems in it. And then we're going to see sort of what, my dreaming, a little bit of dreaming and a little bit of reality of what an Elixir VoIP development stack could look like. And then we're going to do a demo, hopefully not too dangerous because that has to wait till tomorrow. But how does that sound? Does that sound good to everybody? All right. But before I start, I wanted to give a shout out to my employer, Mango Voice. We're a communications provider. We do deep integrations with medical office software. And we're doing a lot of great things for our customers. We have a great team. There's a group of us here. If you haven't talked to us, come talk to us. The way I keep describing it to people, not just the engineers, but top to bottom at the company, is everybody is as nice as they are sharp. So, we're all on top of, you have to be on the ball, but everybody's just been great to work with. It's really a great place. So if you haven't come and talked to us, come find us. And all that to say, this talk and what I'm going to demo is all sort of an experiment that I've done on my own, so Mango isn't responsible for anything that follows. All right, who am I? My name's Brandon. I started in VoIP, and I put on there, I'll die in VoIP. I don't really mean that. But I wasn't a programmer to begin with. I got a job at a VoIP company, had to start troubleshooting things, looking at SIP traces, and then eventually, there's this thing called asterisk that everyone keeps mentioning. There's these scripts, that end in .pl, these Perl scripts that I had to learn, and I kind of came up from there. So VoIP is sort of my first love. Anytime I'm doing a programming problem or learning a new programming language, I always think of it in terms of a VoIP problem, because that's what I know. I'm living and surfing in Oceanside, California. If you've ever been to Oceanside or San Diego, that's where it is. Oceanside's famous for Top Gun. The house in Top Gun is in Oceanside, if that means anything to you. And I have a wife and 4 kids. So all that to say, I have lots of time for open source development. All right. One more language will fix me. I don't know if, you guys are like me. I know a lot of programmers are, but you find a new programming language and you feel like, oh, here it is. Like, it's the language that's going to fix me. I'm going to be able to solve every problem I've ever wanted. I'm going to be able to start every company I've ever wanted to start. I'm going to make all the money I've ever wanted. This language is the language. I know, and some people, they do it with maybe a boyfriend or a girlfriend. The next one is like, that one's going to solve. And then maybe, people do it with shopping. The next pair of shoes is going to solve it. But programmers, we tend to do it with programming languages. And I did it with Elixir. I learned about Elixir, of course, like everything I've learned, via VoIP, via FreeSwitch. I was, perusing through the FreeSwitch docs as one does, and I saw mod Erlang event, and I said, what's that? And I saw, you could connect, FreeSwitch as a node, an Erlang node. What does that mean? And that started my rabbit trail down through finding out what Erlang is, and then that there's, a more modern flavor called Elixir. And so I kept going from there. So what is Erlang, Elixir, OTP? Just to go over it briefly, Erlang, it's been around a long time. It was started by a telecom company, Ericsson, in Sweden. The main idea is that, it's fault tolerant and it's concurrent. It has hot code swapping and distribution. So fault tolerance is nice. Everything's a process, and the idea is you just let it. You can let your processes crash, and it's not going to bring down your system. So that "let it crash" is a phrase in the sort of Erlang Elixir ecosystem of just start your process and don't worry if it crashes because there's already supervision trees set up to make sure everything starts again. It's a little bit like maybe you know, your first kid that you have is like programming in C. You feel like you got to get everything right. You know, everything's got to be all set up, and you're nervous about everything you're doing. But then by like the fourth kid, it's just like, just let him crash. He'll be fine. That's more of the Erlang approach to things. You can set up your system so it'll survive. This is what it looks like if you've never seen Erlang code. It's kind of an old school syntax. You know, I guess maybe I'm young enough where I look at it and I'm kind of nostalgic for it. Like, ooh, I want to program in that. That looks fun. But I know some people don't like the look of it. So that's where Elixir came in. Started by Jose Vablim. And he was a Ruby developer. And then he learned about Erlang. And he started building more of a friendlier syntax. It's sort of a Ruby style. I'll show you an example. It has powerful meta-programming capabilities, so you can kind of build your own DSLs in it, or code generation. So you can. There's a lot of, there'll be an example of that later too. Of you can, you know, generate code really easily or projects. It has this, you know, kind of like a cargo, if you know Rust, or npm for Node. It has a mix. Mix is the tool for project management and package management. It has a growing ecosystem of a lot of different industries. So Phoenix is the main web stack. You can build lots of things there. There's Nerves, which is embedded. And now there's even NX and Bumblebee, which is for, you know, machine learning and AI, kind of like a PyTorch for Elixir. And this is what it would look like. So very, you know, very Ruby-like, and very nice to kind of write in. Very similar, very familiar. So OTP stands for Open Telecom Platform. It's sort of the best way to think about it is it's the standard library for Erlang and Elixir. It's all the things that are already baked into the system, but it's a little more than a standard library because you get supervision trees, you get kind of these concepts like GenServer, GenStatem over there, which is a GenServer is like you can turn your process into a server-like. So you're going to make a call into the server, even though it's just a process, but it's addressable. GenStatem, I'll show examples of that, is you can build state machines in it via callbacks, and it's all baked in. And it was built by and for telecoms. There's this, if you Google or go on YouTube and type in Erlang the movie, at least for us VoIP people, it's awesome. You know, it's so much fun to watch. It's like this old movie that they made in the 80s when they invented Erlang, and it's the three guys who invented it calling each other. So they call each other, and then they hang up, and they even show like, hey, something went wrong, and they go in and they fix it on the fly, and then they make the call again. So it's a lot of fun because I think all of us are probably in that same boat where we're making calls to ourselves a lot all day long. The main thing that made me really like the Erlang Elixir runtime was that concurrency and distribution were solved together. You have your process that you can spawn, and it's discoverable. It's it's available across nodes. You don't have to do a whole lot of ceremony in order to spawn a process and then talk to it, even from another node. So this is just a little example of you're spawning a process, and then it waits to receive a ping, and when it does, it sends back a pong, and then the other node would look like this. So you can just start it up easy. You connect to the other node, and then you just, as you can see here, my proc is the name of that you gave your process, and then when the other node connects, it's able to find it, and then it can send that ping, and then it can receive the pong. And this is the very bare bones way of doing it, but it really solves that concurrency and distribution together, which helps you. When I saw that, I said, oh, you could solve a lot of problems all within Elixir. You don't have to reach out for more and more services. First you get your usually it's like you get your nice script working, and then you go, uh-oh, hang on, I need load balancing. Uh-oh, hang on, I need caching. Uh-oh, hang on, and it keeps growing. But with Erlang and Elixir, it's all kind of baked in. So the good with that is whole blocks of problems are already solved. When you start using it, you don't really have to start reaching out for lots of other services. You don't have to learn a lot of other tools. You can just build things right in it. The bad is it can kind of feel like you're bringing a cannon to a gunfight, right? If you just want to hey, I'm just trying to write my script and I just want to run it, it's going to be frustrating because there's going to be all these other things running, all these other ways that it expects you to write your code, tools that it kind of expects you to use. Yeah, so it feels like bringing a cannon to a gunfight. I don't know where I came up with that analogy. I've never even been in a knife fight, let alone a cannon or gunfight. But that was the analogy that I came up with. I wanted to talk about GenStatem. This was the other one when I was thinking, all right, I really like Elixir. I'd really like to build a SIP stack in it, a VoIP stack. But in SIP, you have your transaction state machines, you have your dialogues that are on top of those, and then within that, it's all encompasses maybe a call or a whole session, and thinking about, oh man, how am I going to represent this in Elixir in these different processes that are running all over? How do you make it distribute properly? And Erlang already has a solution for it. It's called GenStatem, so you can have state-specific event handlers. You can have automatic state transitions, and it has built-in timers and timeouts. So it really has everything you need to build, say, a transaction state machine for SIP or a dialogue state machine. And so here's sort of an example. So if you have your transaction, it goes from trying to proceeding to completed, confirmed, and terminated. With Elixir, it has these easy guards, those when statements, and it has also these pattern matching. So you can define the same function multiple times, and you can actually match on the data that's coming through as the argument. So in this example, you can see, oh, if the status is less than 200, well, then we want to go to a preceding state, right? And you send your 180 or your 183. But if it's greater than 200, well, then the transaction's over. Maybe it's a 400, 500, and you just want to set it to complete, or the call was answered. So the good part there is you are able to handle complex states very deterministically. You write it all out, and it'll match on those functions you've made, and you don't have to have a bunch of complex if statements in there. You just make sure your functions are all matching whatever state your transaction or your dialogue is in, and it works. Just a side note, when I was writing this, state machines are very, you can write them very deterministically. I was like, there are so many vowels in deterministically. And then I had the thought, I said, I've been using that term deterministically so much, and I realized it's because of all this AI stuff. Everybody says, oh, they're non-deterministic. And before then, I never used the term deterministic, but now I use it way too much. The bad part about GenStatem, sorry, that was a random tangent, but the bad part about GenStatem is it takes getting used to. It's not straightforward. And when you're troubleshooting, you have to get used to knowing, oh, what state was I in? I need to find that function name. I'm in the trying state. Let me find my trying function. But usually the stack trace is pretty obvious. So that's OTP, but what about Elixir? Those are all OTP concepts, the GenStatem and the other ones. Those are just baked into the Erlang runtime. So what is special about Elixir? Where it shines is it's very composable. It has this pipe functionality. So the call can be a variable that you pipe in as the first argument to authenticate, and then whatever authenticate returns will be piped into as the first argument to route, which will be piped into bill. And it's really nice. You can create these really concise functions and then use them all together in this pipe format like you would on the command line, and it goes all the way through. And then with the pattern matching in that way, right, underneath you could have multiple, say, route functions that are routing on different numbers or whatever arguments you're passing in, whatever the data is, and it keeps everything nice and tight, keeps your functions small and easy to reason about. It has a lot of tooling for testability, and the nice part, since everything's already a process, everything already kind of has to be concurrent. You're sort of testing your system while you're doing your unit tests. And then it has a lot of modern tooling. The mix tool is really nice. You can set up these tasks to do kind of whatever you want. It's baked into your project right away. You don't have to have a lot of different tools. So why the Erlang runtime system for VoIP? I kind of already covered all this, but you get process isolation. You have supervisors built in to restart those. With GenStatem, it's kind of perfect for the SIP state machines. Pattern matching makes it really nice to avoid huge conditionals of if it's this status or if it's this number, or if it's this thing. And then you get distribution and concurrency kind of solved in one swing. But like I said, it does feel like the hard part is, and the reason I think Erlang or Elixir doesn't get tons of traction is, it's not something or I mean, maybe people do it, but at least it feels like to me, it's not easy to just sort of tag onto an existing system, right? It feels like you've got to be all in. Hey, we're going to build our system on, the Erlang runtime. Otherwise, it's not really like, like a Go or a Python or a Node where it's sort of like, hey, I can build this service and that, but my other services can keep running. It is sort of a all or nothing. So if we were to build a VoIP stack in Elixir, what do we need? NIFs are a way of like writing some C code, and then you can run it with Elixir or Erlang. And that's what I wanted to avoid, because if I'm going to start doing that, well, I'll just stick with Kamalio and FreeSwitch. What I really want to do is could I make just a SIP stack in pure Elixir? I want to be able to pattern match on a message. When an invite comes through, I want to match on the method. I want to match on the from user. I want to match on anything else, a custom header. And then using GenStatem for the transaction and dialog state machines to keep them up and running. And then you can just do message passing for them. And that part, I thought I could figure that out. Maybe it'd take me a while, but I'm not a fast thinker, but I think I'm a good thinker, if that makes sense. I thought I can figure this out. But what we also need is a pure Elixir media stack, because I also thought, well, okay, maybe I'll get the SIP stack working, but then I'm going to have to use FreeSwitch anyways, or Asterisk, which, of course, I love FreeSwitch and Asterisk and all those, but I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, though, I just want to be able to stay within Elixir. I don't want to have to, have lots of different systems running around. Can I just do it in that? And I thought, I can't figure that out. I don't know how to do that. But then came along Membrane, which is a project by Software Mansion, and it's a multimedia framework for Elixir. So they came out with this, and you can do a lot of different things with it. It's not VoIP specific, but they do a lot of WebRTC stuff with it and just multimedia streaming things in general. And when I saw that, I thought, okay, well maybe I can do this. Maybe this is possible. So this is sort of what a Membrane application or function would look like. You can pipe in, right? You're getting your source audio. You can decode it, mix it, encode it. All those functions, are running. Different things on your media stream, and then you're piping it back out into the sink, which is wherever you're sending it. So that's Membrane. And I thought, okay, well, I think we're going to be able to get there. So with Membrane and maybe a SIP stack with Elixir, I think we could do some fun things and really have maybe a real VoIP project going. I got hopeful, which maybe that was the most dangerous part of all. So what would it look like? The most ideal situation, I think, and this does not exist today. This is just purely my imagining or my dreaming, is that it could look something like this. With the metaprogram in Elixir, you could write almost a dialplan like script with it. You could say handle invite. You can pattern match on Alice, in the from. And then you could say, and then you just pipe those into the different functions, accept the call, play the media, bridge to somebody else. And then, of course, you have to fork the media to an AI service. That's required. And then, you could have another function that matches on a conference, in the to, and you do something else with it. And so this is the ideal. This doesn't exist today. What I have working, though, and what is currently possible is SIP callbacks. So I know this is small. I could have just included some, but you can see here there's sort of a handle transaction invite trying, handle transaction invite proceeding, and then you actually can see where handle invite, and then you actually send the response 200 OK, and that'll get sent back out over the wire. And then you have to handle all your other methods. So it's a little manual right now, but it is possible. And then media callbacks using Membrane, you can do handle session start, stream, play complete, and things like that. So now's the dangerous demo time. So from what I've built so far is, I called it the Parrot platform because the Elixir web framework is Phoenix. It starts with a P. It's a bird. And I thought, okay, parrots are birds that talk. I'll call it Parrot. But then when I went on to Hex, which is like, where all the packages are for Elixir, somebody already took the Parrot package. So I tacked on platform, and that's the reason for that name. So I called it the Parrot platform. Anyone can go to here now, and you can actually do the dangerous demo along with me. The nice part about Elixir is also the documentation kind of gets built in. automatically. So it's all in here, and you can follow this quick start, which is the demo I'm going to do. This little AI-generated image I did with my daughter, Regan. That was fun. So the quick start is right here. I already sort of have this set up, but it's just following these exact steps. You have to have Elixir installed if you want to do it, but please do. The demo is very simple. So what I'm going to ask everyone, though, is after it finishes, all it's going to be is a user agent client calling a user agent server and playing an audio file. So when the audio file finishes, just give me a big round of applause and act like it's revelatory, okay? That we really did something. So here on the left, I have my client app, and this is all generated, so you can go on, follow the docs, and you generate the client project, and you can generate your server project. So we can drop into the shell here. How am I doing on time? All right, we can do this. So we can go here. I got my VoIP client. I'm going to start it. I'll go over to my server, and I'll also start it. All right, so now you can see my server is listening, localhost 5060. And here on my client, let me make sure I have, I'm going to do list audio devices. I got to pick the right ID to make it work. All right. So 0 is where it needs to come out of, right? Yeah. So I'm going to do a call. I'm going to send it over to my server. The input device doesn't really matter because we're not going to be talking to anyone, but that'd be 2. The output device needs to be this guy right here. Okay, the external headphones, which should make it so you guys can all hear. All right. Hopefully it's loud enough or not too loud, but let's give it a go. And remember, act like this is revelatory, okay? Can you hear that? Barely. Oh, it's not coming through. It's a dangerous demo. All right. Let's see. Maybe I chose the wrong input device there. I got 2 minutes. I got 2 minutes to make it work.
Good luck, Brandon. I'd just like you to know we're all counting on you.
Thank you. Yeah. I can feel the love. All right. So let's see here. All right. Maybe it just needs to be 0. So I did 1 before. I'm going to do 0. Let's try it. I did. Anyways. Is it coming? It's coming out of there, huh? It's coming out of the actual TV. I can hear it. It sounds good. You heard it? All right. We got to clap then. All right. If I go back to my presentation, so what is the Parrot platform? It's very new. That's all it can do. It can't do anything else. Don't ask it to do anything else. And the ergonomics still need to be worked out. Like the projects that those 2 projects that it generates are pretty ugly. They don't, if you look at it, you're going to say, "What is this?" So I got to work on that. But it's been a lot of fun so far. I'm excited about it. Just the fact that I got it working, got a call going. It has already a star on GitHub. It's my brother who started it, but it's a start. Yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. Yeah.
Brandon Youngdale.
Yeah.
Now, as Fred gets mic'd up and makes his way down here, we do have time for 1 or 2 questions. Brandon, can you see anybody keen in the audience who's raising their hand and would like to talk to you? Look, Jack. Jack doesn't let us down. Let me bring the mic over, Jack, so you can ask Brandon your question.
Brandon, thanks very much. So How does mod Erlang or mod Elixir work inside of FreeSwitch? Have you learned that?
I haven't looked too much, but essentially what it is that it makes FreeSwitch a Erlang node. So you can, from your Erlang or your Elixir, you can talk to FreeSwitch just like it's another process.
So would I use it to like make my own dialplan parsing, or would I use it for profiles or extension?
It'd be like you would use it instead of using a mod event socket. So like instead of ESL, you would use Erlang only.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Any more questions, or are we saying goodbye, Brandon? You're here for the whole deal, right?
I'll be here, yeah.